Let's get it.
This is a Krush Audio production.
What's good, everybody? And welcome to the Hustle and Grow Producer Challenge. I'm not sure if you're hearing audio right there. Are you hearing audio? I mean, I know you were hearing the Electar patch, but you can hear me now, but you couldn't hear the intro, right? It's fucking software, I swear to God. Ecamm, get it together, man. $20 a month for constant glitches, constant problems. I mean, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I need somebody to let me know. Anybody that uses Ecamm, if you're a user, if you're an Ecamm live user, reach out to me. I need some clarification on some things. I want to say what's up, everybody. My name is Ron. I am Krush Audio. It's good to see everybody in the building. What's good? Robbie Cash. Alexis is in the building. What's good, Louisville? Illustrious Music Records in the building, a.k.a. Nate is here. What's good, my guy? It's good to see you, buddy. Welcome back. We're talking about file delivery this week, and we're going to let some pow in. That's why I was sort of going on a little bit of a rant at the beginning anyway. But anyway, you know, I know there are other systems. There's OBS, and I know there are a variety, but I always felt like Ecamm was stable, like sort of rock solid as far as, thank you, bro. It's good to be back. But I always thought it was pretty solid, but I'm constantly having problems. Like, that intro shouldn't have done that. Like, I was hearing audio, and then all of a sudden it just cut off. Now, coincidentally, I just installed a new update, like literally 15 minutes before I went live. So, obviously, that's a no-no, and I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't feel like restarting and relaunching and all that. I just wanted to get the update done. Excuse me. And looks like I ended up screwing myself by doing that. So at any rate, you're hearing me now. That's the most important thing. And what are we talking about this week? Oh, I know what it is. Oh man, did I snap this week. Boy, every once in a while something will get me and I'll get a bug up my ass and it's like I go to bed at night and I'm thinking about this particular topic. I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about the same topic. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the past few days, it's like I saw something about one of my hot button topics, and it just so happened that it was tying into like being a professional. Like we're talking, and I'm going to show you some things tonight. I'll show you one in Ableton, and then I'll show you how to do it in Logic, and I can cover other DAWs as well, but I'll at least show you in Ableton so that those of you that are working in this DAW will have an understanding, and for no matter what software you're using, you're going to understand about where I'm coming from as far as the way we deliver our files. But this topic came up, and it came out, there was an artist that was claiming he was reposting an article from Snow the Product. Who knows who Snow the Product is? Anybody? Are we familiar with her music? She was also on a great TV show that was like a sleeper TV show called The Queen of the South. And that, I'm not sure what network that was on. Y'all know Snow. All right, cool. Snow's dope, by the way. Shout out Snow the Product. Always have been a fan of hers. I was asking people if they knew who Snow was. Like, I don't know, maybe I was late to the party, but it was like 5 years ago. Yo, that Queen of the, she just said Queen of the South was best. You're right. Yo, Queen of the South was one of the most brutal, badass, felt real shows. What do you call that? Like, what's the Soprano? A series, you know what I mean? Like TV network series, but it was all about the cartels essentially. And anyway, Snow was in that. It was a great show. And I'm getting off the point though, as I normally do when at the end of the day here, I'm enjoying a little baggage and get my groove on a little bit. So excuse me. Anyway, so she puts an article out, and let me know if you all have seen this. She puts an article out or a comment out saying, "Yo, it came to my attention that a verse of mine, or maybe it was multiple verses, but at least a verse of hers, was included in one of these artist packs that are frequently sold, that are marketed out there to artists who, quite frankly, don't take this the wrong way, those of you that end up hearing this, but you don't know any better. And you think you're doing something really, really smart. You think you're doing something that is like, yo, how is this? How can I pass this up? That's why they call it a deal you can't refuse. Understand in marketing, all right? Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Understand in marketing, okay, when I learned from these guys, okay, and when I say these guys, I'm talking some of the people that this particular post was referring to. And if you're a player or an artist that's like in the grabbing beats game, or you're a producer that grabs samples and sample packs, and like they have these subscription, or you get all these different VSTs and sample packs, well, I learned from that group of guys, and they're super smart marketers. They're super smart business minds. Busyworks Beats, AD, Anno Domini, Legion Beats, Wishmaster, the list goes on and on from there. The guy from Canada, Cymatics, Producer Grind, all these guys, huge shout out to every one of those guys. But this article was criticizing a pack that came out, and those guys, great. Everybody that I've listed, they've made their money. And if they need or filled the need in their lifestyle that they got to pound millions and millions of other dollars by being upset that I'm blowing the beans on this particular marketing deal, then fuck it. I don't care. Go sit down and invest your money in the crypto market. You'll make 20% with your eyes shut, and you're good to go. So fuck off, actually. It's a great business move. You heard what I said, right? Business move. It is not great for the artist. It's not great I would argue it's not great for the A-list artist, and that's what Snow's is. She doesn't want her name and her brand and her creativity associated with a beat pack that has this sole purpose of being sold as many times as possible. Why? Because the person who invested the money in paying the artist to get their verse, the Snoops, the Rick Rosses, insert name, Stevie Stone, who's the other from around here, Starlito, but that's not who I'm thinking of. Anyway, help me out in the comments if you think of anybody else that are in these packs. Tech Nine, Ritz, more names will come to mind. And this no shade on them either, again, but they'll bag, maybe it's 10 grand, maybe it's 20 grand, maybe it's 50 grand. And the person who's putting up that money as collateral is betting that on their marketing skills that they're going to be able to blast it out there, and there are going to be enough artists who are in the up and coming mode, right? Who think immediately when they see something marketed to them, they think, yo, I'm going to be a part of I'm going to have a collab with Snoop Dogg. I'm going to be able to advertise it like I'm on a song with Snoop Dogg that I'm releasing. And then even further back in an artist's mind, because we so believe in our art and we so want things to work out for us, we believe that the song that we're going to create with that person is going to rise above. Maybe we even realize that it's going to get sold to a bunch of other artists and they're going to record it as well and release it. Think about what that does to the A-list artist's name. Now you're hearing this A-list artist, some verse or some hook of theirs on a song, on a track that has now been interpreted 50,000 different times if the marketing plan went good, right? Do you understand why that's not a good model right off the rip? I haven't even gotten into the rights and how you're allowed to profit off of that. Oftentimes they'll market these things as unlimited distribution. Unlimited distribution. Okay. That doesn't change publishing. That's unlimited distribution on your master. How much? What is the nitty-gritty of the contract saying? Because essentially there could be verbiage in the contract that essentially goes against everything that's being marketed to you in your face. Feel me? Right? And I'm not saying every one of these guys is out to screw people. I'm sure their initial intention was like, number one, of course, we all want to make money. And number two, it was a way for them to say, hey, maybe you're a producer or a guy who makes music like me, and you've been making all these different beats, and you put them up on these different platforms, and they're not necessarily selling, not because they're not good, just because they haven't been packaged and they're in a sea of other shit, right? Millions of other tracks that other producers are trying to sell on these platforms, like BeatStars, right? Airbit, whatever. It makes more sense for you as an artist, in my opinion, and you can argue with me in the comments. Tell me why you believe that it's a good move to do like that. Because what I see it doing is really, really hurting everyone except for the person who created the idea. And God bless them if they're able to market it the right way and get you sucked in, hooked in, right? Then guess what? They profit. To the winner go the spoils, right? But I'm just telling you from the position, if you're an artist and you think you're going to... What's good, OG? Smurfs in the house? Let them know, Smurf, what? Rap, what gory and what year were you Rap Artist of the Year? Let them know. Anyway, there you go. Adrian and Gabe got a lot of money. Yeah, they got a lot of money. They're smart business guys, and that thing has turned into a factory. I'm sure it was just them, but they can't accommodate the amount of demand that they have, so they're hiring other producers to do that stuff, right? I'm glad to see the communities talking to each other too. That's cool. It's been a great business model for them. It'll continue to be, because this pod or this conversation will only reach so many people. But sooner or later, people are going to smarten up. And I'm sure when guys are looking at because they're, again, businessmen, they're going to look at their long-term projections, right? They're going to see what kind of crazy volume, what the heyday was, the Wild West of when they were really doing crazy business versus what the volume is currently. I would have to guess it's a little bit less. Maybe it's because, they're smart, right there. And that's no different. They got a lot of my money, dude. I had, here, I'm going to put it up here. I had a subscription to get VSTs and sample packs for months. And I can't say that it was a bad value. The only bad value was a lot of the VSTs that they advertised and marketed were fucking garbage. I mean, they didn't really work well. 1 out of every 5 to 8 of them would be something that, like, I would consider wanting to keep as far as the VSTs were concerned. And samples, you start to realize as a producer, here's a suggestion for you guys, because this is about, eventually I'm going to get into it, about delivering as a pro. And part of that is going through this process. You have to go through it. Sometimes it's like a father and a son, right? Or a kid and their child. You tell them what to do because you've been there and you've experienced that fucking directly. And they're probably going to go off and do whatever they want to do anyway. hopefully that nugget that you left in the back of their brain that this is a bad move will gel with them at some point, and they'll pull back from that experimentation. Same thing with like going through getting so many plugins, then realizing after you own or have rented a bunch of plugin subscriptions with all these different companies, you realize that you keep on grabbing the same 5-10 plugins all the time, right? You need a great channel strip. You need a great compressor, more than one. You need 3-4 compressors that do different things, different flavors, right? One's aggressive, one's a smoother, one's more for the buses and the groups, okay? You need a great EQ. And these days, you know, a great EQ means something that has dynamic EQ built in, like a FabFilter Pro Q3 or a Waves F6. These are solid plugins. If you have like the SSL bundle, the XEQ, the Fusion EQ is a great EQ. I'm glad you're digging it, bro. Let me see what you said here. Tech 9. Yeah. Yeah, and yo, that's smart marketing, because in different areas they were smart. They were probably marketing different, if you're from Houston or if you're from Texas area or just the South and you're of a certain age demographic, maybe it'd be smart down there to do a thing with Scarface. Maybe it'd be smart to do a thing with Master P. Maybe it'd be smart for a collab. It makes sense for a quick bag, even for an artist, especially that's not at the level of Snow. That's why you get collabs with guys who are not the top dog on the roster, but usually somebody that's in the crew. I mean, can you even mention, other than Joe Budden and I could probably name one or two other members, the Big Heavy Dude, I'm thinking the D12, the Eminem spinoff. And name all the other members of the group, same thing. You know what I mean? Like those people will take a bag, and if you're going to give them $25K for what is probably their throwaway shit, if I was doing that, that'd be what it was with me. I'm not going to sit down and have a full-blown session and a creative vibe session and create everything right there, right then, give you my fresh creative material when I'm an A-list artist, when I'm going and selling out all kinds of shit all over the place. What does 50K mean to me? What does 25K mean to me at that point? Checking some of the comments. But anyway, as a tool to work on your craft, I say, yeah, great. Have at it. As something you want to use and say, hey, I was fucking around and I came up with this thing, and yo, look what I did with this Snoop beat. Absolutely, do that. You know what I mean? I say absolutely, go for it. But when it comes to thinking you're going to profit, let's do a little bit of math. Let me get my phone here. Let's take 25,000 streams. Sounds like a pretty good week, right? Let's say you got 25,000 streams. You're fucking popping. That means you're averaging 50, 100,000 streams a month, right? Well, 25,000 streams divided by 0.004. or I'm sorry, times bucks at absolute best. So, the point is, take those things for what they're worth. The alternative is going to be a little bit harder. That's why most don't want to fucking do it, right? It's just the truth. I'm sorry, but, putting in the time to fucking, go around and spend 2 hours on this, hours on that, 2 hours on this software, 2 hours on this plugin, 2 hours on this sound, 2 hours on these bars right here. Okay? Until you're willing to make that commitment and really go all in like that, it's going to be an issue. But if you're willing to do that, you're going to find a bunch of people that start to come around you that are also interested in doing what you're doing by choosing that path. And guess what? Guess what happens when that attitude of yours meets up with similar attitudes that are on that kind of frequency, that are on that kind of level? That's when you get some magic happening. Right? That's when you get some magic happening. So, anyway, before I go off on more tangents and and cause more problems, I want to show you real quick. Let's give a listen to this. All right, and it's going to drop right here. And here's what I want to do. I want to show you, if I wanted to take this beat, as you could see, everything is sort of sectioned off, right? And color coded off. So what I'm saying is, like, if I hit and click all the red, I'm going to hear just the drums. And if I highlight just the piano, I'm going to hear just the piano. And the perk. Right? And so on and so forth. But let's say, as a producer, I want to send this guy out. Let's say I want to send this guy out professionally. I'm going to deliver this, and I need a mixing engineer to mix this for me. All right? But first, I have a couple things I want to do. There's like a solo section right here that I want to add a little part. I was just playing the piano or the guitar fucking around before we came in. So let's lay this part down. Let's finish this little solo part right here. Just these couple bars. And once we're committed to that, we'll move it over to the other section, or maybe we'll do something different. Then we're going to print it. And when we print it, we're going to print it so that the engineer gets every single one of these sounds on their own individual track. Does that make sense? Like on their own individual track. Okay? So that's what we call when we say something stemming something out or doing track outs. That's what we're talking about. So every one of these sounds that make up this entire beat, they're going to be on their own individual track, in their own individual folder, with all the samples collected and everything organized in one folder. You get where I'm going? Okay, as producers, if we're people, or if you're an artist, you need to learn this as well, or it's definitely an asset if you know how to do this. All right? So this is the way an engineer would want something delivered in a best case scenario, right? This is what I would prefer. So let's get this down. We'll give you a little creative action in the moment here, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So we're gonna record this section guitar just here, 8 bars, and we're gonna give ourselves a little bit of a lead in. Let's see how that worked out. Okay, let's hear it back. All right. Could be a lot quieter. So we pull it down like 5-6 dB. There you go. All right, I dig it. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this, hold the Option key, click, and drag right over to the beginning of the next chorus. We're gonna listen. What do you think? All right, so let's say we're happy. Woo. I don't think we should have constant tambourines right there at the end. I think that should break down. If the bass line is going to break down, this should break down. You feel me? Here, I'll give you a look at it. Here how this wants to settle down, and these are not allowing it to settle down. This is music production. This is what music producers do. Definitely. Ow. I'm gonna cut some of these hi-hats. And then it's back. So I'm gonna bring the bass line back like it was tight right here through here. So we'll do the same thing here. Right? And then we go back and we're out. Very simple. And that's all I'm gonna do. Let me show you. Let me show you what what happens now. It's hard to see the whole screen, right? You know, do you see that? So we're gonna grab everything and just get it down to a smaller size by hitting the H button for height, right? I'm gonna go all the way here, and usually I'll have a bar drawn over the top that ends at the very end of the song. You see, I've highlighted everything. Okay? Now, I'm going to make sure I'm on my master channel, and I'm going to listen. And I want to hear, where we are. Excuse me. I'm going to add a compressor. I'm going to turn the oversampling up on the 2-bus. You want to keep the oversampling on these plugins. Takes more of your resource power on your computer, but it gives you a better end product. So you can't do it on everything, but you can do it on your master channel, right? Let's listen to the meat of this song. Let's listen to this. Right? And we'll go down to our master. It'll come up. I just want to kiss this. Attacks going to 20 milliseconds. Release, I want it to be super fast. I'm going to try and get that classic SSL pump. So, back to when everything's in. No more than 4 dB. That's too much. Let's listen. Without. With. Feel the body, everything, all the meat and everything come back. It came back to life, right? Now, I'm going to slide this high pass filter up for the sidechain on this compressor. What's that mean? That means that I don't want the compressor to look at these frequencies way down here. I want them to start sort of around after where the kick drum hits and compress those frequencies. I want them to leave these alone, to leave them exciting. It's going to lower my compression amount, my gain reduction, because it's only focusing on one area. I can dig into the compressor a little harder now. I'm taking away a couple dB, I'm giving back a couple dB. Let's do an AB. Here we go. With. Without. With. Feel the body of the guitar come back. Feel the keys come to life. The threshold, imagine getting squeezed from the top and the bottom. And what happens when you don't have enough room from the top and the bottom? I tell students this all the time in our audio classes. When you're compressing and limiting where something's going to go on the top, depending on whether you're brick wall limiting it, as in using a limiter or a compressor, you have a threshold here. You're saying, hey, once you get above this, we're going to whack you the fuck back down a little bit. That's your gain reduction. Whap. Oh, you went over 3 dB, bam. You know, and you're going to see how it reacts. That's the release. How it attacks, how quickly does it react, and then how long does it hold on to it. Typically, beginners especially hear the release. You hear when something's overcompressed and it's pumping. It's real easy to hear. It's a lot of the first things you'll identify when you hear that. What we're listening for here on a little more advanced level is listening to what happens to the bottom and to the width of the mix. The entire body of work, once you get it into a sweet spot, in my opinion, you start to feel like the stereo field spreads a little bit. Listen for that. Here we are. We're in. Actually, we're going to start in bypass. Nothing. In. feel the width come in to that? If you're listening in headphones, you could really hear it. You could really hear it. Okay? So one more time without. Also, focus on the snare drum. It's like so apparent. It's cracking you in your face. Okay? But when I engage this thing, it's going to almost give you the it's going to feel like it backs off a little bit. It's still going to be aggressive, but some other things are going to come in and give it a hug. Here we go. Feel that? You feel that? Yeah. All right. So, where are we? On the meter. Yeah, we got some transients popping through, right? Still. We have a 20 millisecond attack. We're not being aggressive yet. Okay? So, next up on the mastering chain, a little bit of saturation. And thinking about what I want to use. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, you know what? Let me hear it again. I'm handling that snare a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, here we go. So, let's use the regular drive. It's going to be some saturation. Off. On. Sort of excites the frequencies that we hear with our ears. Sort of rounds off the high end too a little bit, just a touch, similar to what tape would do. Let's try this new plugin that we got from Metric Halo. Shout out to the guys at Metric Halo. I thought I had it. Hold on, I may have to scan. By the way, this is how you do that in Wave Studio Rack. Come up here and just rescan the plugin. And should allow me to play. Yeah. I'm looking for a new limiter. I usually would use Fab Filter. I would usually use Fab Filter Pro L, right? But I'm trying out something new from Metric Halo, and somebody I respect very much, David Nazi, my prayers go out to you, bro. He's having a horrific situation with a health insurance company and his fiance, who is literally in critical condition. And look that up if anybody in the community knows Mixbus TV. He and I are friends on Facebook, just social media. I respect him so much. What amazing Italian based, but I think he's here in the United States now. I don't care about this rolling shit. You see, I shouldn't have done all these plugins. Oh well. Anyway, massive problem with insurance companies. She needed to be transferred to another hospital. You'd have to look it up, but he's the gentleman that that runs the station on YouTube called Mixbus TV, where he does a lot of reviews of plugins and things of that nature. So people in the music business know who he is, right? And he's going through a horrific thing. So my prayers go out to him. All right, here we go. Without further ado, where the fuck is it? Oh, here it is. Let's see what this thing can do, guys. This is going to show me my LUFS, my loudness units full scale. Okay? So let's hear where we are. Thank you. You could use them. I'm not sure what's going on, but thank you so much. All right, so cool. We're at a reasonable level, 16. I'm going to kick some of this up. Here we go. We're at 15. I'm going to turn up. This is so simple. I'm going to go true peak. And I'm going to turn the loudness knob up. Watch yourselves. Here we go. Try something. Let's see if we can get it even louder without destroying the sound, right? Without like crushing. I'll show you what I mean. We're gonna go in front of this with gold clip, and we're gonna, because I'm old, make this a little bigger, right? We're fully wet right now. And this is going to tell us how much we're clipping. Feel me? We're clipping 1.2 fully wet. Now, if I turn this into and went full clip, starting to break apart, right? So let's go back to gold clip. We don't want to do that, or maybe we do, and maybe we just want to pull back the wet. Let's unlink these. gonna roll it off a little bit on the top. Here's where we were. Here's where we came. There we go. All right. We're under 10. I know they tell you I would be living around 10, and that's high. Depending on genre, I've seen it as low as like -4, believe it or not. -3 even. So, fuck what they tell you on these sites. If it sounds good, go ahead and rock with it. So, I've highlighted all of these. Now I'm just going to simply go up to live, and I'm going to say, hey, I want you to export audio. Or I can hit Shift-Command-R. And this dialog box is going to come up. I wish I could make it bigger for you, but I can't. And basically at the top, it's saying rendered track. If I wanted it to just give me a 2-track master, something I would send to a DJ to play, right? Then I would leave it here. But we want all the individual tracks. Okay? Now, in certain situations, you can select, you could pick just selected tracks, and then you would choose what tracks you wanted it to take. In our situation here, we just want to bounce out each one of these pieces of audio: kick drum, snare drum, hi-hat, clap, etc., tambourine, bass, keys, etc. We want that on its own individual track. Okay? So from 1 all the way to the end of 57 here, that's what we want. We don't need any rendered as loops. It'll just be from 1 to 57, all one thing. But it's one big, we're basically sending over the song broken down in its most core form. Okay? We don't want any normalization on, and I wouldn't be sending this out with a master like that. I would take all my limiting off. So I would literally turn that off. Probably would leave it at that whenever I bounced it. And then I go all individual tracks, and I just make sure all of these are off, normalized. I don't need an analysis file. I want to make sure my sample rate is at least 48K. Okay? 48, 24-bit, 48K. Some people argue and say, oh yeah, but you could do 32-bit. You don't need to do that. That's an advanced conversation for another day. You're safe in line with video if you do 2448, and that's where you should be right now. Okay? File type, wave. That's our wave file. That's what we want every one of these to be. We want it to be a wave file. Don't worry about the dither. Here's where our bit depth is, 24. You heard me mention 32. We do not need to be at 16-bit. We are not doing 16 or 44.1. This is not CD stuff. We are in the digital age, and everything should be marked 2448. We don't really need MP3 files. to go along with this. This is not the purpose of us delivering as a professional. We're delivering it to get work done somewhere else. So it needs to be in its rawest forms with the enhancements that you want on there that you're sending off to somebody else to work on. Okay? So there we go. We hit export. And on the desktop here, I can choose to create a folder. I'm going to call this Bucket for Hustle Grow Stems. And then I would put the date. I put the year, the month, the day. That's some military shit for you. And you'll always keep your files in a nice order if you keep your date like that. I've created the folder that I want all that information that's on there to go into, right? So I'm just going to hit save, and Ableton is going to do the rest of the work. It's going to render every one of those tracks and put them into that folder. Pretty awesome, right? And I did it all within an hour. Boom, baby. I hope you had a good time. I appreciate everybody stopping by. I want to shout out Smurf. I want to shout out Illustrious Music. I want to shout out Robbie Cash. I want to shout out my guy, I saw it last night, Jimmy Massa, BKA Massa, amazing artist from Memphis who lives here now. I want to shout out Cam Crooks, who was in the building last night, and I was mixing the single for him. Another amazing artist that's here in the Ville. And shout out to Rubik's Groove. I'm going to be doing some front of house work for them and running sound for a private party tomorrow morning. So I need to get my sleep. I'm old. I'm signing off. I'll see you next time, everybody. All right. Peace.